Good evening. You're listening live to the Extreme Movie Show. I'm your host, Rob. Alongside me tonight, I have also from Central Florida, Professor Pixel, and we are covering here on Extreme TV our continuing review of Wayward Pines, Season 1, Episode 3. And I got to tell you, Pixel, we've had two very intense episodes so far of this limited edition show based off the Blake Crouch novels. 2 episodes in, a lot of stuff's going on. The mystery unfolds, and things are getting hotter and deeper. I like what happened here in Episode 3. It's almost as if we stop for an episode to kind of recatch our breath and figure out some big details here and really flesh out some of the motivations behind some of the characters in here. I like this episode a lot, even though it's a change, especially from the way the, episode 2 ended. Wow, it's pretty stunning here. What's your initial take on this?
Yeah, no, with this episode, I mean, after the big reveal of episode 2, reveal, should I say, spectacle, I suppose, it leaves you just kind of shocked that they would do that in this quaint looking town. Even though something is off, you don't expect something that off. And this entire episode keeps us hooked. But I suppose we should just go ahead and talk. Speaking of hooked, you know who's still hanging dead in the street? That would be Beverly. Beverly,
You
right?
say she's hanging around a little bit?
Aha! Aha! It's funny because she's dead.
Well, yeah, I mean, again, at the end of the episode 2, we get the big reveal about the whole idea of, hey, if you don't follow the rules that are posted everywhere, you're going to get whacked. And that's what happens. And the fact that they killed off what seemed to be a major character early on is ballsy to do. And they did it well because we were not expecting her to get whacked. So, yeah, go ahead and start us off.
Yeah, no, with this opening, we have the sheriff pretty much come in after the stabbing is done, and he's saying how it's our town, it's all I'm so proud of you, and they go through their mantra, you know, to remind themselves that Wayward Pine is the one way, one truth. Meanwhile, Burke is just running away. He's still in disbelief, but he's just running further into the woods for now. After we get, of course, the best little little town model, we get them going back home. The Kate and her husband. She says that she's going to make him some milk with tea. You know, it helps when things like this happen. When you pretty much conspire to kill a woman. But who else is there? Ethan Burke. Apparently, after running into the woods trying to catch his breath, this is where he comes pretty much say, I knew you. You weren't evil. What I saw was evil. And she's still, while the tea kettle is pretty much blaring in the background, because otherwise she is very careful about what she says. But once the starts up, she's able to say, listen, it doesn't matter. This is how it works. This is how it works here, and this is how it has to be. You know, you could be happy here, and once the tea stops, we have a guest room. It's been a long night. And then, as he's about to leave, the telephone rings.
I was trying to think of, if you talk about it and you're not seeing it or you're listening to it, you're going to miss a lot of stuff, because obviously with television primarily, or even movies, you know, there's a lot of the visual medium going on to it. And so the thing about Sheriff Pope that I've liked so far is he's got a certain intensity about him, and it seems like he really just does not like him at all, or he's just really triggered by something, but yet he's in control, and he's not making these grandiose statements or whatever. He's not a larger than life Bond villain that you laugh at and find absolutely not threatening at all. You're like, no, this guy's being held back from really beating the shit out of you and tolerating you, and it's like, why is that? And then, you know, again, I hear when the crowd is after Beverly's, you know, dead there hanging in the middle of the night with everybody look around, you could tell that Kate doesn't seem too pleased about things either, which, you know, even though she'd kind of let him on knowing that hey, they're listening, they're watching, those kinds of things. So how much paranoia are we going to have in here? Well, she seemed to recognize Ethan, being in the room already, and we forget that she's just not a very attractive, very well put together woman. She's an FBI agent, and she's just not like, oh my God, you startled me. What are you doing here? None of this bullshit stuff. I mean, she's like expecting it. It's like she's thinking one step ahead. So she seems smart, but she also seems under complete control too, the way she's looking to talk to him. And it's funny because to him, it wasn't that long ago that they had their connection, even though it had ended, because this is the person he's having an affair on his wife with, or a brief fling, or whatever you want to call it. And you could see her kind of like the emotions are stirring up a little bit too. But for her, it's been like 10, 12 years or whatever. I did like the fact how this kind of continued into Ethan being run out to the woods and going back to the old burnt out place or whatever. It's a place we've been before. Where are you going to go when you're on the run? You're going to go to what you know and familiar. But he's also not in town. So we got a fugitive, right? This is cool stuff. It's really ratcheting up for some reason, and I don't know why. I just think, and I said this before in last episode, his wife that we see in the flashbacks and son, it seems like the three of them have a really good chemistry. I don't know what it is. It seems like we are rooting for, Ethan and his family, despite his dalliance and all that too. And it's not to say that that's forgivable or like that, but certainly understandable. It feels that way, and that's a testament to the actors and actresses involved. But we do see him doing some detective spy stuff, because now we get here in Wayward Pines, Idaho, aka North Vancouver, tons of rain, and so he's just sitting there and he's kind of scoping out some of the homes, and he's back to where Beverly's house was at, and it's completely empty. It's as if she didn't even exist. And so, of course, he's watching a truck go by. It's like a food service one, and we see one of these stupid little detective scenes at the Seattle PD office, flashing over to his wife and son breaking in. And yes, they had confirmation because they met some local yokels at a place about her, and the little kid in there is like, yeah, we're at Wayward Pines. But we see a really nice scene here too, and this is what I like about live shooting, as we said before, no stage sets or whatever. We get Sheriff Pope out of his car stopping his wife and son, and it's slightly snowing out there. And we see him like taking something out of a giant syringe, and he's telling her, hey, I noticed you had an oil leak. So we know he's not on the up and up. No matter what we thought of him before or why he didn't get along with Ethan, we know this guy's just lying his ass off, because he asks her to pop the car hood. He severs a line in there, then shows her the fluid. So this guy's obviously no good. He obviously doesn't want them going to Wayward Pines, because we do see the sign, that's about like 9-10 miles away. And we get a little bit of a prisoner / last man on earth sort of feeling with Ethan sneaking in. And I gotta tell you, the scenes in the small town where they filmed it with the mountains in the background are just absolutely stunning. I feel like they could do more of that. But we get them appearing on the side of what appears to be a giant building or some sort of whatever, and it's very Kubrick-esque at the sets. It's very Spartan, but obviously everything's put away and tabulated in a certain way that we can quickly make out, hey, this is a humongous, gigantic storage facility, warehouse type thing. And of course, he's just walking around. And again, this is one of those things where it's kind of convenient, lucky, but there's a section here where there's a bunch of cars, and he's hearing people coming in and getting off, so he's trying to hide from them. And he's noticing people coming in there that seem like they all work at the same place or whatever, the way they're all dressed up. And as he's hiding behind one of the cars, says, hey, one looks pretty wrecked out bad. And hey, it has this really familiar sticker on it, and it's his wife's car. And he pulls out some personal effects. So he's like, what the fuck? I thought this was pretty good, but of course, the cop had managed to follow him in there, find him in there, took him out of the car and whacked him. And the cops got like three or four points, and Burke's got nothing. So Burke needs to win by knockout in the last round. Otherwise, it's just not going to happen. And then he wakes up into a room, an old familiar room, and gets a phone call. And I'll let you take over.
Yeah, I kind of want to backtrack though, because there's so much. When we started switching to the wife and son again, and it was focusing on them primarily, I had to get a little excited when you see them get pulled over, and then you see the cop, but you don't see him fully. So they try to keep the suspense of the moment as this mysterious figure is taking some, like he said, a syringe, but I think it was more like a bottle or something. And he's just started dousing on the ground. Oh, you got an oil leak, he says as he leans on over. And he's still keeping that friendly, warm personality that we all know and love. But yeah, no, it's basically he's saying, oh, well, here's the thing. I can fix this for you. I can help you. So that way you don't break down here. You want to go down this way, and you want to stop in Wayward Pines.
Yeah.
And yeah, pretty much he wrecks her car, though,
Yeah.
from within. And that's pretty much where they get stopped. And that fight, when you get into this industrial-looking zone, that's the word that hops to mind first thing. Oh, no, there was one other thing. In that house with
Beverly's old house?
Yeah. He doesn't just get away scot-free.
True.
He gets paused by what looks to be not a real estate agent, but basically the manager of these homes. We got a new family moving in here. Let's go ahead and get to work. Slumlord, that's right.
Yeah, realtor agent would have been too nice.
Yeah, and he sees, but he pretty much knows Ethan is just around the corner once the people go upstairs to go get to work, and he says not a word, nods to the back door, and he allows Ethan to escape.
Yes, that's true. That is true. It's almost as if he knew not only was he there, but that he recognized him and already decided what he was going to do. Which for a lowly real estate agent slash manager, slumlord, that's interesting.
Yes. It's also very cool to see this this garage after he does arrive, and you can see, oh, here's sugar, coffee, and milk, stuff all lined up in these storage containers.
Yeah, they make it very easy for you to see it in a very quick thing, because a lot of what I like about the way they shoot some of the stuff, it's not just the choice of us being able to see it easily. You get, of course, some of your steady shots or whatever, but you get a lot of the action zoom things and everything else there too. So it's not overly detailed oriented where you get lost looking at stuff. Your eye immediately goes to, like, so you say, the sugar, the this, that, the whatever. So we understand exactly what he's seeing and where he's at without only getting but maybe a second or two's worth of look at it.
So when he does get to see the sheriff, and he's getting into a rather, he gets a syringe to the neck, so he's pretty much down for the count. But he does try to fight, say, "Where's my family?" And Chef just laughs it off, and that's when he falls asleep, and he wakes up, and no, I don't think it was the hospital.
Yes.
But was it the hospital?
Yeah.
Because his family had just gotten out of the hospital.
I think it was the same room that he was in before, actually, because he goes down the same hallway, and that's when he sees the nurse there with the candy stripers over, and she's holding the baby.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I still like how her broken nose is shown, because that's realistic. You break your nose, usually you get black eyes to go with it, and it just stays for a while. And she's holding the baby. You're like, okay, this is unusual. It's the first young kid like a baby that we've seen in Wayward Pines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's very true. But yeah, no. After that, he's told his family is waiting for him, and it's actually Beverly's old house that's been made into a home for the Burks. And you can see the son and wife in there, and Dad couldn't have bought this stuff. He's hopeless. And then once he comes in, they catch up a little bit. Oh, well, I was driving, and the car had an oil leak, and I completely believed that. And they woke up in a hospital, and all these facts just coming all together. And then pretty much the slumlord enters, saying that this is your home. Shut up. Enjoy.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
actually like this scene. I thought, like I said, there's just a natural chemistry with the three of these, and I just think it works. It almost seems kind of touching and genuine, and he doesn't want to say too much where we're like that. And the son goes outside, sits for a minute, and the kid that we saw earlier saying, "Welcome to Wayward Pines, Mr. Berg." He says it like to the kid or whatever, and goes down that back path. And he's like, "Hey, just trust me. We'll talk later and all that." He goes to see the sheriff, and this is where things really start to pick up to me.
Yeah. You go ahead.
Well, the nurse is there with it, so we're like, "Why is the nurse there with them?" And he's trying to understand and ask why is this town surrounded? This is not normal. Why do you do this? Why do you do that? Why do you kill people? I mean, all the stuff that you normally would ask. He unloads on them, and they both seem very controlled. They're like, yeah, but they're not revealing anything. They just have these little phrases and stuff, and he talks about the rules a little bit, and he just warns him that if he keeps looking for the rules, that the families may or may not be too safe. So it's like a direct threat. And he's like, "You stay away or I'll kill you." And I like it. I'm like, yeah, we're going to see these two butt heads soon.
Yeah, you believe it.
Yeah,
you believe it.
Yeah. We get a scene with the mom and the son talking or whatever, and they're back at the house. I'm like, okay, this is feeling like it's not, like I say, action oriented, which it doesn't have to be. This is a bit of a thriller, I think. But of course, he meets the goofy guy from the hospital with the glasses or whatever that you pop over a little bit. And of course, it's raining like crazy at night, and they're talking a little bit. And you can almost tell that he really wants Ethan to be taking on a significant role here in Wayward Pines, but he doesn't really tell him what's going on, I think. I mean, he's pleading with him, right? I mean, this is a scene where I'm like, what's so significant about this guy? Obviously, he's got stroke, right?
Toby Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. He's. Oh, why does the therapist care so much? But he does go on about how, well, we're all important members in Wayward Pine. We all have a role to play. Please try to be happy here. Please stay.
Yeah, it's still raining and everything too, which I like because it's just gray and cold and nasty. And when he goes and he walks up his driveway there, his son's watching from outside, and it's a nice little transition shot of go from one window to another, because Ethan doesn't actually go into the house. He goes to the back of the yard where there's a bike path or whatever, where the kid was biking earlier, because he sees somebody, and he follows this person out to the woods. And who does he follow? His old
Kate.
partner. Kate. Yeah. So take it from here.
Yes. Kate goes ahead, and she is she's pretty much a little looser now. I should have been careful with how I said that. A little looser now because they can't hear them out in the woods. But she's basically saying that she's been worn down by this town. She's gone down this path, tried to search for answers, and all it did was lead to terrible, terrible things. And that this is all you just have to accept it, pretty much. And he's not accepting of that. The part of the scene that I really like is the other half of it, though, because the kid that you said earlier, his son, did not stay in the house. It's revealed that he went after her, well, not after Kate, but after the pair. Yeah. Go ahead and look in, and of course gets none of the context. So he just thinks, "Oh, my dad's still having an affair." But
he's hurt. He's not showing like in a pissed off way, like snotty-nosed teenager. You can tell he's genuinely affected by it, and not in a I don't care mode, or I'm going to be a snarky kid, or I'm going to lecture your morality dead. None of that shit. I'm like, this is a little different the way the family's choosing to handle his weaknesses and discretion. Well, but it's not pathetic either.
I know.
It's that's what's good about it.
That I agree. But I really like the scene with the mom, because you know who comes in? The sheriff. And he's there. "Oh, I hope you don't mind. I knocked, but the door was open, so I just let myself in. Is your husband home?" And she lies and says, "Oh yeah, she's upstairs," and he's going on for a minute about the ice cream because there's apparently it's a new flavor that's rare in Wayward Pines. And, you can tell that he's slowly becoming even more unhinged. But here he's making himself a bowl, offers her one, and she knows that something's wrong. She can sense that something's off about him, especially about the town, and she wants to trust her loving husband, but he's still not home. And basically, as the sheriff's going on about her special husband, she says it's about time that he leaves. And I was worried, but he does indeed make his exit. And after that, the son comes in, says he's with Kate, and that makes a split-second decision. Okay, it doesn't matter about any of the other facts that led us here. We need to get going. And they leave the house.
This is a great scene because, like I say, things are really slowing down, and this is. I'm joking about the ice cream, saying it's a chilling scene, but any terror that's coming from the sheriff, you feel it here because he's very calmly, basically saying, "Hey, I'm tired of the special treatment. He's basically saying, you motherfuckers are getting the special ice cream. I'm not." I mean, obviously, it sounds like whatever. This is just a great piece of acting and delivering. I love it when we don't have the usual over-the-shoulder camera shots going back and forth, people talking like we do with Ethan out in the woods here. That's cut in afterwards. I like it where it's just focused on him, and I like it when somebody's eating something or doing something physical while doing it. There's something natural about it. Sometimes it can look really fake or phony, like taking a sip of something to drink out of a coffee cup that's not real. You can tell, and hear him with the ice cream and all that. It's just really good stuff. You're like, this guy's nobody to fuck with. Why are they getting special treatments, the Burks, and specifically him? Why is it that, it seems like it's been such a long time that he's seen it, but, when Ben comes home and tells him about it, you're right. They do what a lot of people do. They're hurt as a family. Screw it. We're going to leave. We're going to run. And that's what they do. She literally takes the ring off, puts it on there, and leaves. But we're seeing that cut in between, Ethan out in the woods, and he's talking, and I don't think he's under her spell anymore, but he's like, hey, when you're done hiding, I want you to come see me because I'm going to get out of this town or whatever. And she's basically reiterating that she's been doing it for like 10, 12 years, and that she only learned, she got, like you said, she got broken down, she's beaten down, so she accepted what had to happen. That's why she's remarried. But for her, again, there's this time discrepancy for her. It's like 10, 12 years. We've heard that before with somebody else, and now it's that. And when he gets home, and he sees that the phone is gone, or the wedding ring is gone, it's like a shot that we'd already seen earlier. We see Ben and his mom, they're walking down the street, which this is really kind of stupid because it's middle of the night and it's cold and foggy or like that, and they're by the Welcome to Wayward Pines big old billboard sign when the sheriff pulls up. And I think the next 2 minutes, basically, whatever finishes up this episode, kind of sums up what's going on, because they shit the bricks. They're running into the woods. The sheriff's almost running them down, basically, and he's unhinged. He basically slaps the kid down. He pulls out his gun, makes her stand there. Ethan's, of course, running after him, and they're not too far ahead. The kid goes and he sits in the car, and it's an interesting end for two reasons that happen there. Two really, really big things when Ethan actually shows up. Let me pause in the middle of all this because you might offer a different viewpoint to how you think this wraps up, because this literally is the end of the episode.
Yeah, no. When the sheriff pretty much follows them out there, he says, "Why can't you listen to our rules? Why can't you listen to my rules? This is my town." And he has the gun in the head and he's aiming. And he's like, "I'm sorry," but at the same time, he's whacking the son across the head. "I'm sorry." He's clearly.
No, I think he does a good job of acting not out of control. Good. But it's like he really doesn't want to be doing this, but he has to. It really is believable that way to me.
I don't know. I think I mean,
He's
you
pissed at Ethan and the special
yeah.
privileges, but it's like, you know, if you're the one that has to like tell your friend, you know, some bad news or something like that. You don't want to be the one doing it, but you've got to do it, and you feel like shit for doing it. It's almost like that, except for, you know, he didn't even say he actually kind of likes him a little bit or whatever, or respects him. But and they are both law enforcement, really, so they kind of understand each other. They're both alphas, right?
But here's
Or were.
where, because in this scene, Ethan comes in and they're fighting, and it seems like the fight is going to keep going on because at a certain point, Ethan gets knocked to the ground and the sheriff stands up. But everybody forgot about the kid in the car, and so the kid takes the initiative, or takes the ignition, and then
Yeah.
and then runs the sheriff over. And he's not dead yet. He's laying there and he's saying, "You don't want to know the truth. You don't want to know it. It's worse."
You can't handle the truth speech. Yeah.
And Ethan pretty much lives up to his word. Takes the gun, shoots him, and takes the keys. And what else is there? A key to the door.
Yeah, because they're right by the giant fence.
Yeah. So he opens the door. It looks like they're about to get out. Suddenly there's some weird screeching that starts coming. And we get to see a glimpse as the body is suddenly dragged away. And as they're staring out into the open wilderness, the animal hooting gets louder. So they shut the door and they pull away. "Get out of here! Get out of here!" And that's where we're left off.
Yeah, so obviously we now know that the town is surrounded by a fence to keep not them in, but things from getting in. Because something got in, dragged the body, and took it out, and we don't know what it is. Looks like a literally split second, could have been like a giant lizard or something. Don't really know, but again, things are moving forward. It doesn't have to be that intense of an episode. We got more of the coming to grips with what the situation of the town is and what roles are of people. I really did like hearing the first couple episodes, the again, the whole prisoner kind of vibe to it, you know, strange in a strange land, trying to figure out the rules with the map and all that. The guy up in the woods, you know, with the giant sniper rifle. Obviously, we're thinking whatever's out there. You know, these are just guys on the outside on watchtowers just checking things out. So we don't know what it is. We don't know about this time delay or whatever. But I liked it. Again, it started off strong. It's continued a solid pace. It slowed down in this episode to let things rev up a little bit to kind of make us understand, okay, everything can't be just like the first episode. Now that we've had the shock of the first episode, we've had the shock of the second episode, we get a shock of this. They're leaving you with a little bit of a cliffhanger after each episode, which is a different type of cliffhanger. So now we don't know necessarily who to trust. The sheriff, who we thought was going to be the big opponent, literally is gone. So what's next? I have no idea, but damn it, this moved well. I love it. I don't know if things are getting worse for Ethan, and that's reflected in the really horrible northern Seattle or Wayward Pines, Idaho weather. But man, what a good episode. This is good television. This is good shit.
Yes, it is.
Final thoughts, sir.
Yeah, another solid episode. I am very much enjoying it. I know that after shows like Dark Shadows and Twin Peaks, where can we go? Well, this is where we've gone, and we're enjoying our stay in Wayward Pines.
Yeah, I just finished up something that kind of reminds me of this a little bit in a different way, called Servant on Apple. I've mentioned that before. It's fantastic. There's lots of things out there that are really, really good. But Wayward Pines, we're looking forward to continuing this season 1, seeing what happens with it. Again, based off the Blake Crouch novels. My understanding is that the first 4, 5, 6 episodes is like the first book, and that the second season the second season is kind of on its own, because the last 3, 4 episodes in this season here are based off the second and third books. So I don't know if there's a fourth. I think it was just a trilogy. So obviously at the time they were coming out, it's not going to line up, but doesn't matter as long as it's good television. That's what it's there for. This is not one of those things where I think you go, we got to honor the source material and it's crap, because in the book Ethan really did that. I don't think it's that important for what we're seeing here. But right now, what the hell's going on? We got our hero that's got some trouble, and he's got his family support. He's an everyman, and we're liking it. Season 1, Episode 3, guys, check it out. Wayward Pines, awesome stuff there too. For Professor Pixel, I'm your host Rob here on the Xtreme Movie Show. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for letting people know we exist. As always, have a good night, and as always, stay extreme.